Okay, just another video. Just a couple of things I forgot to address in my other video about USA corruption. Well, I was watching this video, this Eminem video, Mosh and all that, and that's all good and gravy and everything. But like I stated in my other video, there's issues that we need to, as people, agree to, and we need to change the way that we're doing things. It's all good to say, oh yeah, this country has problems and all this and that. Um, we're going into Iraq and all these other countries. We're causing all these problems. The world hates us. And we could say, oh, don't go into Iraq. No more blood for oil, all this shit. But what are we going to do there's a reason our government's going in there. Our government knows that this country is going to fail, and it's on the way out to failure if we don't get this oil in Iraq and everywhere else. It's going to fail. It's going to fail, and it's going to be a fucking hell zone in America if we don't get this oil, because of the way we run things in this country, because of the amount of oil that we use on a day-to-day basis. We've been brainwashed to live a lifestyle of using this much oil so that the corporations, the oil companies, can get rich off of us. And instead of the government coming out saying, okay, here's how we're gonna use different, we're gonna start using motorcycles and small machines and cut back on taxes and regulations and do all these other things to save on all these resources, and to educate our children and everything else, how to live an energy conscious lifestyle. Instead of doing that, our government goes into another country, and steals all this oil from them. That way they can keep making all this immense amounts of money and power, and building up this military police government that they're building up, because we're consumers and we're consuming at this insane rate. So it's all right to say, oh yeah, we need to change things, we shouldn't be in Iraq and all this, but you need to change the way that you're living first. Because if we're not giving this insane amount of money to these people for oil and everything else that we're giving them, they're not going to be able to keep on doing what they're doing. So if gasoline went up to $10 a gallon, this country would be pretty screwed up. Or if oil stopped coming to this country for a day or a couple days, that there's that ocean or whatever that we protect to make sure the oil flows through to us, and I've read a couple places that, oh, if it stopped coming to us for a couple days, or the whole country would collapse and this and that. And that's scary. That's a scary thought to think that. That's scary to think that if oil stops coming to this country for a day or two, that this country's going to collapse. And it will collapse. I mean, people aren't going to be able to work. That's how people get around, is in their big gas sucking cars. That's how they get around to work and to make their little money and everything else. So it's all right to say, oh, don't go into Iraq and everything else, but you need to understand that all this is really happening because our government is at the breaking point where they know that in order to sustain this country and to not have it go into complete utter chaos, because you see, they've been brainwashing us into thinking we need all this oil, and we need to live this energy hog lifestyle. The reason they brainwash that to us is so that we keep on driving our cars, doing what they want us to do, driving all over everywhere they want us to drive to, update your license plates, pay this, pay that, insurance, taxes, all the stuff that keeps us driving and keeps us being this energy hog lifestyle that we are. They've been brain feeding this to us because they make so much money off of it, okay, from the oil. But the problem is when that oil starts to dwindle, we don't know any other way of life. Okay, most of us don't know any other way of life. So when that happens, it's going to be a major meltdown in this country. Major meltdown in this country, to the point where, you know, any other halfway conscious, energy conscious country is still going to have all their resources and their smarts and everything else, and if they wanted to, they could come in and just raid us when this happens, because it's going to be drastic. There's so many energy hogs in this country that when the energy starts to dwindle, we're just going to be utter chaos. And that's why this government that we have wants to go New World Order. They want to take over everything. They want the whole world. Okay, so that, which they're already doing. That's why our country spends the massive amounts on military, because in order to keep this country from going into utter chaos, we need to take over all these other resources from other countries. We need to take their oil. Like the Middle East, we've been doing it for 50 years. So it's basically the greed of this country backfiring on itself. That's what happened. The big oil moguls. It's all the oil. I blame the oil companies for the whole entire mess. Oil companies and the government are basically the same thing. I blame them for the entire catastrophic event that's going to unfold in this country eventually. Although, like I said, this country's trying to take over the entire world, so that it doesn't really happen like that. I mean, you know, we're not necessarily trying to take over the whole world, but basically we're trying to do something like that. You know, we're trying to have these alliances with these other. It's not good what we're doing. We're going to drain the whole entire world of all their oil, so that way when we run out, no one else that still has plenty of oil can come in and take us over when that happens, you see. But the sick thing about that is we're not being conscious about what oil we're using. So we're burning oil at a ridiculous rate. So we're talking about oil that should have been around for hundreds of thousands of years, and we're going to burn it up in a couple hundred years. You know, when there's no more cars, when you can't drive your car around anymore because there's no oil or gasoline, it's $20 a gallon or whatever, it's all gone, this country's in war, everything else, you're going to wish you could have just rode a moped or a dirt bike around. You're going to wish you didn't drive around aimlessly doing stupid government errands that they have you doing. You're going to wish you didn't drive around all over the place like a dumbass, you know, because gasoline and oil, it's a beautiful thing. It really is. We could be living in a utopia now. With all the resources we burn, everyone should have a brand new house, you know, and everything else. We should be in a utopia now. Instead, because this government forces us to drive and burn this oil at such an alarming rate, instead we're just pawns. We're just pawns in this, and it's just ugly, you know. We're just an ugly country, like I said again, you know, and that's just some more of my feelings. So there you go.